Serious is a word that most people use without fully examining what they mean by it. Serious relationship. As if serious were simply a modifier more of something, more commitment, more time, more investment. A relationship that has graduated from something lighter into something heavier. But serious is not a quantity, it is a quality, the specific, particular quality of a connection in which both people are genuinely present. Not present in the performative, showing up for the visible moments sense. Present in the specific, daily, unglamorous, this is what I actually am quality of two people who have chosen to let each other into the real version of their lives rather than the curated version. That is what makes a relationship serious, not its length, not its labels, not any of the external markers that relationships are sometimes measured by. The quality of genuine presence on both sides. Continuously, I want to begin with what you bring to a serious relationship because what you bring is specific and it deserves to be named before anything else. You bring the real version. This is not a simple thing to offer. Most people in the early stages of a connection bring a version of themselves that has been edited for reception, that has been organized around what is most appealing and least complicated. That presents the highlights while keeping the more demanding or more vulnerable or more genuinely complex parts of who they are at a distance until the connection has proven itself stable enough to receive them. You are not particularly good at that editing, not because you do not understand its social function, because you find it exhausting and because you have learned through whatever combination of experience and temperament that the connections worth having are the ones that can receive the unedited version from the beginning, that do not require the performance of a simpler self in order to get started. The real version is what you offer. And the real version of you is genuinely demanding to receive, not because it is difficult, because it is full, because there is a specific, particular density to what you actually are when you are fully yourself, the intelligence, the care, the standards, the specific quality of attention you bring when you are genuinely engaged that requires something from the person receiving it. Not everyone can receive it. The ones who can are the ones worth the serious relationship with. Let me describe what you require in return, because serious relationships are not unidirectional, and what you bring deserves its equivalent. You require honesty, not honesty as an occasional policy, as the operating mode, the specific, continuous, applies even when it is uncomfortable quality of someone who tells you the truth about what they are experiencing and what they want and what is not working for them, who does not manage their interior to produce a version that is easier for you to receive, who trusts that you can handle the actual thing rather than the edited version. You require consistency. The specific comes from character quality of someone who shows up the same way across different contexts and different circumstances and different emotional states, who does not perform interest when it serves them and withdraw when it does not, whose care for you has a quality of durability rather than contingency. And you require depth. the capacity for genuine engagement with things that matter, for conversations that go below the surface, for the specific quality of intellectual and emotional presence that makes the sustained daily reality of being with someone feel like something genuinely interesting rather than something to be managed. These are not small requirements, they are the right requirements for someone who brings what you bring. And I want to speak to something about your readiness for this, because readiness for a serious relationship is not a fixed state it develops, and where you are in that development matters. Readiness is not the absence of complications. This is the specific thing that tends to be misunderstood about being ready for something significant. That readiness means the ground is clear, that there are no unresolved things, that the prior chapters have been fully processed and filed and are no longer producing any effect on the present. That version of readiness does not exist. What exists is a different kind of readiness. The specific, honest, I know what I am bringing quality of someone who is clear about what they carry, who has done sufficient work on themselves to understand their own patterns, who can be in a connection without being entirely at the mercy of those patterns, because they have enough awareness of them to navigate consciously rather than automatically. That is the readiness that matters, not the absence of history, the presence of enough self knowledge to be accountable to it. Tell me in the comments where you are with this, whether the readiness I am describing, the self knowledge kind, rather than the clear ground kind, is something you feel you have developed, whether the relationship I am describing is something you feel genuinely open to receiving right now, or whether there are things you know need more of your attention first. I want to know where you actually are. I want to speak to what serious relationship requires of you that is harder than it sounds. It requires you to let someone stay. This is the specific, particular challenge for someone with your quality of perception and your quality of self sufficiency. You see people clearly, you understand quickly what someone is and what they are capable of, and what the specific, real picture of who you are dealing with looks like. And that clarity, which is one of your most valuable qualities, can also produce a particular kind of difficulty. The difficulty of staying when the picture includes complications. Because no real person seen clearly is simple. Everyone carries things, has patterns that are not their best, has a history that produces effects in how they show up, has the specific human quality of being both genuinely worth knowing and genuinely imperfect in ways that require something from the person who chooses to be with them. The question serious relationship asks is whether you can stay with the complicated real person rather than only with the idea of who they could be or who they are in their best moments. That staying the specific daily I see you fully and I am still here quality of sustained presence and a real connection is what serious relationship actually is. And it requires a particular quality of courage, not the dramatic kind, the quiet, continuous, shows up again tomorrow kind. Let me speak to something about what serious relationship produces in you, not what it gives you, what it produces. It produces a particular kind of growth. The specific, uncomfortable, cannot be achieved alone quality of growth that only happens in genuine, sustained connection with another person, where the specific ways you have of being that do not serve you become visible not through your own reflection, which has its limits, but through the mirror that another person provides when they are close enough and honest enough to reflect accurately. That mirroring is one of the specific gifts of serious relationship. It shows you things about yourself that solitude cannot show. Not always things you wanted to see, things that are true. And true things, even uncomfortable ones, are the beginning of the specific, real, actually changes something kind of growth, rather than the comfortable kind that stays entirely within the territory of what you are already doing. Serious relationship changes you in ways you cannot fully predict in advance, in ways that tend to make you more fully what you actually are rather than less. I want to speak to the fear that tends to accompany the approach of something significant, because significant things tend to produce fear alongside the other things they produce. Not the fear of the thing itself necessarily, the fear of what the thing requires, of the specific, ongoing, cannot be managed, from a distance quality of sustained, genuine connection, of letting someone close enough that the distance that protects you from being significantly affected by another person is no longer available. That fear is not irrational. It is the honest recognition that being genuinely close to another person is genuinely risky. That the same closeness that makes serious relationship valuable is the closeness that makes it possible to be significantly affected by what happens in it. You cannot have the depth without the exposure. They are not separable. The fear is simply the recognition of that. And recognizing it clearly, being honest about the fact that the thing you want also carries what you are afraid of, is more useful than pretending the fear is not there. You can be afraid of something and still choose it. Choosing it while afraid is not a failure of readiness. It is what courage actually looks like. I want to say something about timing, not a prediction about when something arrives, about what tends to be true about timing in general. Things tend to arrive when the interior conditions are present for receiving them, not because the universe dispenses things on a reward system, because of something more practical. The specific quality of your presence and your attention and what you are organized around at any given time affects what you notice, what you attract, and what you are capable of being in. When you are fully in your own life, genuinely engaged with the things you are building, genuinely present in the connections you already have, genuinely occupied with the actual quality of your own existence. You carry a different quality than when you are primarily organized around what is missing. That different quality is more likely to recognize what is genuinely significant when it appears, and more able to be what a serious relationship requires when it does. The best preparation for something significant is not waiting for it. It is being fully in what is already here. As we close, I want to give you one image, not of a relationship, of you in the specific, fully inhabited quality of someone who is genuinely present in their own life, who is not primarily organized around what is not yet here, who has enough genuine substance in their actual daily existence that the question of when something significant arrives has a quality of patience rather than urgency. that person, the one who is fully in their own life, carrying what they carry with the honest, unperformed quality of someone who knows what they are worth and what they require and what they bring, is the person who receives serious relationship well. Not because they were waiting for it, because they were not, because they were simply being who they are fully. And that fullness, the specific, genuine, cannot be manufactured quality of someone who is actually occupying their own life, is the quality that makes serious relationship possible. It is already in you, Virgo. It has been there, waiting not for the relationship, for you to recognize that you are ready.